he lie. Everybody know he, but they be good lies though.
They do be good lies.
They
Like
be like
what?
great
The Tupac
lies.
picture.
That was one of the best.
The industry is there's a lot of snakes in it. Game was a snake that won.
Everybody loves a great line. A bar so clean it sticks to your brain like glue. But here's the thing about great lines. Sometimes they're just that, lines. And when the stories behind them keep changing, people start checking dates, credits, and who was actually in the room. Today we're diving into a career that's part classic records, part rolling controversy. Some claims are backed by receipts, others, let's just say the internet has its magnifying glass out, because it saw through it in seconds. We'll lay out what's documented, flag what's disputed, and keep the rumors labeled as rumors. Ready? Let's open the file. The moment the question popped up, did he really write on What Up Gangsta? The blowback was instant. Reports claim the story started in a chat room and ballooned into headlines. 50 Cent didn't just disagree, he shut it down with a laugh and a timeline. That song was already done. Tony Yayo backed it up, dismissing the idea like a rumor that forgot who pressed record. And somewhere in the middle of that storm, a reference for hire leaked with 50 vocals, which only poured gasoline on the debate over who guided the hooks in that era. This is an open and shut court. It's hip-hop memory with 20 cameras and a comment section. But when you make a claim about the opener to one of the most important debut runs of the 2000s, you need more than a spicy quote. You need paperwork. And that's where the story gets uncomfortable. Because the paperwork around that time points to a different narrative. Here's what we know. The debut wasn't a bedroom record that snuck into the charts by accident.
Extravagant lies we've ever heard in our lives on this episode.
I'm with you.
It was aftermath precision, Dr. Dre's ear on speed dial, 50's hooks cutting through the noise, a who's who board of producers, and heavyweight features that made the rollout feel inevitable. The tracklist reads like a Hall of Fame roster. The credits lean hard toward a guided launch, Dre in the captain's chair, 50 in the passenger seat writing chorus after chorus, and a major label runway cleared for takeoff. That doesn't erase the verses that connected, or the charisma that sold them. It just means the breakthrough didn't happen in a vacuum. The cosign mattered, the hooks mattered, the Dre stamp mattered. So when later interviews reshape who steered what, the receipts push back, and what happened next would raise even more eyebrows. A life or death night will never be a neat story. He says the shooting changed everything. Most people don't question that it happened. But the timeline lyric, I woke up out that coma 2001, about the same time Dre dropped 2001, keeps getting dragged back to the front, because the Dre album dropped in 1999. On paper, it's a tiny mismatch. In a genre that worships authenticity, it feels bigger. Fans begin to ask, if the anchor date isn't right, what else got romanticized for effect? Nobody's taking away the hospital wristband. What they're challenging is the narrator. Was it a polished myth built to mirror somebody else's famous recovery arc, or just a bar that sounded slick and slipped past the fact check? Either way, the internet never forgets. And the next headline didn't help. You don't have to be a historian to hear how that lands. Saying Ye did more in 2 weeks than Dre did your whole career isn't just a hot take. It's a match tossed into a room full of gasoline and framed platinum plaques. Maybe it was pride. Maybe
You photoshopped yourself on someone else and put a picture out with you and Pac.
It's Pac.
But it's not you. You heard him say Kanye did more for me in the last 2 weeks than Dr.
it was buzz chasing. He later said there was liquor in the mix and he shouldn't have put it like that, but the quote stuck like wet paint. Context made it louder. The LA Super Bowl happened without him, and he admitted the snub stung. He called himself not a safe pick. Critics called it disrespect to the architect who signed him, placed him, and helped assemble the launch pad. Fans split fast. One camp yelled loyalty, the other said speak your truth. Industry memory is simple though. You don't scorch the mentor, especially not in public. The clip bounced across timelines and the apology could never outrun the pull quote. From then on, every interview turned into a receipts check. Was this feelings or facts? He tried to walk it back, called Dre a blessing, and said he should have shown more grace. But screenshots live longer than clarifications, and once a sentence becomes a headline, it lives forever. Which is why the next thing people did was start zooming in literally at a picture that would spark a whole new backlash. At first glance, it played like a time machine, shoulder to shoulder with Tupac, a snapshot that would have rewired West Coast lineage in a single frame. Then the zooms arrived. The lighting didn't agree, shadows that didn't sit right, edges looked too clean. When the original photo resurfaced, the moment evaporated into a composite. He later framed it as homage, a fan edit posted out of respect, not a con. But online, intent rarely beats optics. You don't Photoshop yourself into sacred history and call it love. With someone as sacred as Tupac, even a tribute can read like you're borrowing a halo you didn't earn. The backlash wasn't just jokes, it was a credibility audit. In hip-hop, images are receipts. A doctored picture can feel louder than a paragraph of context, and it's slotted neatly into a narrative critics already believed. When the myth gets thin, the presentation gets brighter. Fair or not, that's how it landed. Fans who grew up treating Tupac like scripture saw the composite as crossing a line.
He wrote, "What up, gangsta?"
What up, gangster?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm like, come on, bro. He wasn't even around when we did that. Like, that was before you even came into the picture. Like, that's Get Rich or Die Trying. He didn't even
come into after that.
Yeah, we didn't even know.
While defenders called it a clumsy salute. Two realities, one screenshot. What stung most was the timing. After the Super Bowl snub talk and the "Yed did more for me" quote, the composite looked less like nostalgia and more like reach. That's the trap of perception. Every new move gets graded against the last headline. If you're already being accused of inflating your place in the story, stitching yourself into a legend's photo feels like Exhibit A. Still, there's a human read here. Artists from that era shaped his compass. Posting a tribute isn't a crime, but culture hears subtext. With Tupac, reverence comes with rules. Chief among them, authenticity first, always. And when that rule feels bent, people start questioning everything else they're shown. The result? The music didn't change, but the room did. Bookers, blogs, and fans started treating his claims like items that needed receipts attached, which meant the next move had to be louder than a picture. It had to be undeniable, confrontational, and impossible to ignore. Enter the 10-minute swing at a giant, the Eminem diss. There's a difference between competitive spirit and attention economy. He spent years calling Eminem the one rapper nobody wants smoke with, then flipped the table and aimed straight at him. A 10-minute diss isn't a stray tweet, it's a declaration. The record sprawled on purpose, persona-mocking skits, flow switch-ups, bar-for-bar callbacks to Eminem's catalog, and punchlines meant to sting more than they score points. It wasn't just a diss, it was theater provocation wrapped as performance. The gamble was obvious. If Eminem answered, the moment becomes culture shifting. If he didn't, the track still drags the spotlight back to its author. Critics split. Some heard elite technical flexing and a clever mirror held up to Eminem's style. Others called it a publicity play, an attempt to pull a titan out of his comfort zone for a viral round that could never be judged fair. Either way, the target stayed quiet, and silence can be the loudest verdict in rap. Without a reply to escalate it, the conversation burned hot for a week and cooled. Still, the move said something real. He'd rather challenge the mountaintop than settle for mid-tier grudge matches. That appetite for big opponents kept the timeline buzzing, but it also raised the stakes on everything that followed. When the coast itself started choosing sides in the next major feud, every like, post, and absence got treated like a headline. And what happened next would make the optics even messier. When the 2024 clash boiled over, every caption became a scoreboard. Posts, likes, and throwaway comments got treated like press releases.
That word was music that I made with Dre, not with gang music. How We Do, Hate It or Love It, Church for Thugs, Special, Higher, West Side Story.
Fans started reading body language and Instagram stories and deciding who stood where. He showed love to Drake publicly, calling him family, and the timeline took that as a declaration. Fair or not, the internet doesn't wait for footnotes. Then Juneteenth hit, and the pop-out turned into a West Coast roll call, a unity moment with elders blessing the stage and the city flexing in real time. His name wasn't on the card. He later saluted the show and explained the absence, but by then the narrative had legs. People framed it as a pattern. When the coast moves as one, he's just outside the frame, voicing support from the curb instead of center stage. That's the trap of optics. You can mean respect and still look like you're picking sides. You can avoid the crossfire and still get tagged to a camp. And once the crowd files you under stirring conversation more than shaping moments, every move gets graded harsher. The result is a perception tax. To change minds, your next play has to be undeniable, bigger than a post, louder than a headline, and clean enough to survive the freeze frame. All of that fed straight into the next wave of discourse. The money chatter, the paid placements, and the long-running critique that his name travels further when it's next to someone else's. And that's where the story shifts from alliances to economics. In the late IG era, screenshots became press releases. Allegations floated that he was charging indie artists for opportunities. mixtape slots, playlist looks, reposts, even quick verses, with results that felt smaller than the sales pitch. Some buyers said they got exactly what was written. Others claimed the deliverables were vague, the reach limited, and the ROI mostly hurt feelings. He and his circle framed it as straightforward promo, no different from paying blogs or influencers. But once the word scam starts trending, nuance gets buried under retweets. Zoom out and you hit a bigger question. What's the line between hustling and hustling your audience? Plenty of veterans sell features, verses, and shoutouts. The difference, critics argue, is expectation setting. If the promise is access to a legacy, fans expect legacy-level impact, not a one-day story post. And when money talk overlaps with old credibility debates, the narrative snaps together fast. The myth costs extra.
He's hurt. See, in hip hop, we very rarely do we look past the surface.
Then there's the oldest charge, name dropping. Early on, it read as homage, a kid from Compton mapping his influences in real time. Over years, it hardened into a signature, and for some, a crutch. His bars became a crowded room of legends, headlines, and cross-references. Supporters call it archival, a scrapbook style that turns songs into living timelines. Detractors call it borrowed gravity, attention borrowed from bigger silhouettes. He's even winked at the habit himself, tallying drops like Easter eggs, which only feeds the discourse. Is this craft or camouflage? The algorithm doesn't help. Feeds reward loud signals, and nothing pings the timeline like a familiar name. A single reference can trigger search spikes, blog blurbs, and reaction clips. In that economy, name-dropping isn't just a tick, it's strategy. But strategies carry costs. If your liquidity, both attention and cash, leans too hard on other brands, audiences start asking where your center is, and whether the music moves without the mention. Put together, the money packages and the name habit tell one story. A talented rapper negotiating relevance in public, using every lever the modern game offers. Some elegant, some messy. Fair or not, perception turns those levers into a verdict. And that leads to the only question that matters for a legacy. When the credits roll, do people remember the records or the receipts? So what does the scoreboard say? On vinyl, there's real weight. Chart runs, cultural moments, and verses that still hit. On camera, there's drama that keeps the timeline buzzing. Disputed credits, a bad lyric date, a tribute that looked like a fake out, a sentence about Dre that never stops echoing, a 10-minute shot at Eminem, a perceived pick during the biggest rap feud in years, and money rumors that refuse to disappear. If that sounds messy, it's because it is. But messy is not the same as empty. The catalog exists, the complaints exist, the contradictions exist, and they all live under one name. Maybe that's why we're still here talking. In a genre obsessed with truth and theater, he's both. The question isn't whether he mattered. He did. The question is the balance. How much of the legacy rests on records, and how much on a story that keeps getting edited? Drop your take below.